Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of the Virtual Ninja Show. My name is Heike Ritter and I will be your host. Before we dive into today's topic, if you want to get one of those plush ninja cats, watch the little video. Aren't these cute? Do you also want to get a chance to get one of those giveaways, one of those plush ninja cats? Please check out this URL and I wish all of you good luck. Okay, now that you know how to get one of those, I'm super excited to have Javier with me today. We are talking about Microsoft Sentinel as well as how it integrates with Microsoft 365 Defender. Javier, please introduce yourself.
Hello, Heike. Thank you for having me. So, my name is Javier Soriano. I'm based in Madrid, Spain, and my role is Senior Program Manager for the Microsoft Sentinel engineering team, working in the CXE team, so Customer Experience Engineering, helping customers and partners all around the world to make sure that they get the best of Microsoft Sentinel.
Wonderful. Yeah, part of our team. Super excited to have you as my expert today. So before we actually dive into that topic again, Javier has his own show and it's called Sentinel in the Field. But just usually he is the host and not the expert. So now we are turning this a little bit around and I'm super excited. So Javier, let's start. We want to go deeper, of course, into the integration. But first, I would love to know, what is Microsoft Sentinel in a nutshell?
So Microsoft Sentinel, everybody thinks it's just a SIEM, right? Security Information Event Management. But it's much more than that. It's a tool for the SOC. So, for example, besides the SIEM functionality that is built in, obviously, it also has UEBA functionality. So we have a module, an engine within Sentinel that can create a baseline of your entity profiles and then detect deviations or anomalies on those baselines. It's also a SOAR tool, a security orchestration automated response. So basically to allow you to respond automatically to all those incidents in the SOC. And we have many integrations with that, with third-party products. It can do enrichment, it can do remediation actions, it can do synchronization with other tools, and so on and so forth. And it's also a threat intelligence platform. So basically, you can create and manage your own threat intelligence, IOCs. You can import them from other tools. You can create your own there. Make sure that you manage the life cycle of those indicators of compromise in Sentinel. And of course, match them across your different log sources. So you are always able to detect those IOCs in your environment.
So, okay, it's not just a big database where you can basically get all kind of events from different sources into, but also add a lot of intelligence and automation on top of it.
Exactly, basically like that. Yeah. So we also have an incident management view, right? So you can basically have all your incidents coming from many different sources, right? Not only Microsoft sources, obviously, also third-party data sources from other clouds, from other vendors, firewall devices, key management systems, you name it, right? And then be able to have your analyst look at those different incidents, act upon them, react, remediate them. And also we have different modules for threat hunting. So you can also do threat hunting within Sentinel, structure in a way to be done through the MITRE framework. So basically have it categorized by MITRE tactic and technique. And then also we have another module within Sentinel, which is dashboarding, right? So we have a very, very nice dashboarding tool that is built on top of what we call Azure Workbooks, which is a native tool in Azure that allows the users of Sentinel to actually visualize how all these different log sources that they're ingesting are evolving or are providing you insights about the overall state of your IT environment.
Okay, so you talked about hunting, and I know hunting from the Defender products. So it's the same language, luckily. It's also
Luckily, it
KQL.
is. Custo query language, yes, we all love it. It's super powerful. It's true that it has a learning curve, so some people take a little bit to learn, but it's super powerful, and it's the same language that we use not only in hunting, but also in our analytic rules that we use for detections. Also for the same workbooks that I mentioned, those dashboards that we build them with the same exact language with KQL. So once you learn it, you can use it across all different modules in Sentinel.
Yeah, and I want to point people to our unified GitHub repository. So we put a link. So it's for Sentinel and Microsoft 365 Defender. And of course, as part of the community, we would love for you to also share your scripts, queries, whatever you write, and share it with others to make other people happy when you grab something from others.
We have a lot of tooling actually there. So we have a folder for tools where we have contributions from the outside. We have scripts there that allow you to automate certain tasks in Sentinel, new dashboards, hunting queries, you name it. Yeah.
Yeah, and some people might think that what they created might not be, who wants to this? Why should I share? No, please do, because others might look exactly for this and then they don't have to invent the wheel new. So please share. Good. You made me curious. Can we hop into a demo? Can you show me Sentinel, how it looks like? And then maybe let's walk a little bit through a couple of features that you mentioned here.
Absolutely. Let's do it. So here we are in the Azure portal. This is where Sentinel lives, as you can see. So this is the overview page where you can look at different metrics from your Sentinel environment, like the number of incidents that you had over time, broken down by severity. Also, you can see how you're ingesting data into the different data types and tables. You can check how your analytics are running, if you have them disabled or enabled. Also, your automation, in case you are doing any automated response to your incidents, you can also see what is the metrics for that. But
So
anyway,
Javier,
yeah.
quickly, what are analytics? What is that?
Analytics are the detections. So basically, these are the detections that you build with KQL. So before you actually go into the detections, where you want to go first is data connectors, right? You want to start ingesting data into Sentinel. As I said, it's not only a SIEM, but of course there's a SIEM underneath, right? There's
Mhm.
a data lake that is built on top of what we call Azure Monitor Logs or Log Analytics. And the first place that you go is data connectors. As you can see, we have here 139. This is actually not the complete list of data connectors. We have even more in what we call the Content Hub. It's like our marketplace. But here you can see at a glance, more or less, the number of connectors that we have. As you can see from many different sources, right? Not only Microsoft stuff. There's many other things that are in here. Of course, Microsoft as well, but you can see AWS, you can see Apache, you can see some things from Microsoft like Azure Active Directory, Azure Activity, etc. So here's the place where you would go and start ingesting your data. Some of the typical ones, of course, Azure Active Directory will be one of them. So when you click in a connector, basically gives you a description of that connector. Whether or not you're ingesting data already, you will see also this green mark to the side. And then you see the different tables that you're ingesting and the progression over time, right?
So
And you have
is
here the
this
full list.
now
Yeah.
a one-way receiving data, or depending on the connector, it's also bidirectional or something, giving something back to where it comes from? I mean, I don't know if it even makes sense, my question, but
Good question. So the vast majority of these connectors are one direction, right? So we get from that the data from that source, and then we store it in Log Analytics. But it is true that there is at least one where there's a little bit more than that. There is also like bidirectional synchronization.
I guess what makes sense, right? If you connect a firewall, what do you send back to the firewall, right? So you want to get
Exactly.
the events. But yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can then do remediation actions on the firewall, right? And that's part of the SOAR component of Sentinel. Imagine that you want to block an IP address from a firewall because you know it's malicious. You can do that
Mhm.
with a playbook, with one of our automation components. You can act upon that firewall and many other examples. Just wanted to just briefly go into one of these, like this Azure Active Directory connector, where you will see the different things that you can do. In this case, I'm not going to enable because this is an environment that is controlled by a third party. But I'll show you one thing that is important, which is next steps. In every single connector that you see in the data connectors view, you'll have always next steps. These next steps basically give you several items or artifacts that you can use to work with the data coming from this connector. Like, for example, workbooks. These are, as I said before, are visualizations, right? So here you have different workbooks that are available for you to see, to use. You can have also query samples. So typical queries that you can run to look at data coming from this data source. And then all the different analytics that we have on this on data from this data source, right? In this case, these are all detections that work on top of data coming from Azure Active Directory. So you will see here stuff that is related to Azure Active Directory, like authentication anomalies, specific elevated actions that are anomalous, and things like that. So you see
So,
all those kind of actions here. Yeah.
like before, first of all, I like that next step because it's also basically a little learning um, section where someone can go, okay, now what can I do? What can I, and then you go through it. So does it mean you ingest and there is no detection logic on the events coming in without enabling analytics on
That's
those?
correct. That's correct.
Okay.
So the way to start detecting things is by enabling these analytic rules. Yes.
So, and why wouldn't you enable them all? Like, what holds you back from saying, "Oh, cool, this is I need everything."
Yeah, so you can do that. So we have tools that allow you to automate that process, basically to enable, hey, all of the rules that are for Azure Active Directory, I want to enable. That's one way, but we leave it up to the customer. Why? Because in many cases, the SOC has a process on how to handle each specific use case and alert type, right? So you don't want to from the first day enable everything, and then your SOC team doesn't know what to do with all those alerts. They're going to start saying, I mean, I see the title of this alert, but I don't know what to do with it. What is the process? How do I investigate? Do I investigate this specific alert? Do I need to go into this log type? Do I need to contact the end user? What do I do, right?
So,
So
but you still want an alert. Like, if something is suspicious, even if you yet don't know what to do, I thought a security team wants to
yeah,
have that
there,
all at least reported, right?
there's a balance always between
Hmm.
noise and detections. So again, up to the customer to do what they prefer. By default, you just enable, and then you have to go in and manually enable these rules.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, many different data connectors. Wanted to mention just a couple of them. We have firewall vendors, of course, from many different third-party vendors like Cisco, Fortinet, Palo Alto, etc. We also have a common event format. If your firewall supports just common event format, you can also send that to Sentinel via one of our agents, the legacy agent or our new agent, AMA, Azure Monitor Agent. We have DNS sources, and also wanted to mention one specifically that is important is threat intelligence. So if you go to the bottom of this list, you will see that we have some threat intelligence connectors. So one that collects data from taxi servers,
Oh,
and
mhm.
what that can be done that can bring IOCs or indicators of compromise from TIP platforms, like for example MindMail, Threat Connect, MASP, and others.
Awesome.
Okay, so once we have enabled those different data connectors to bring data into your Sentinel environment, you can go into analytics, which is, as we mentioned, the detections. And the first thing that you want to do after enabling data connectors, as you mentioned, Heike, is to enable those detections. Yeah, and the place where you would go is rule templates. In rule templates is where you will find all the different out-of-the-box content. But for example, here I can filter this list of templates by, for example, saying data source. I want to see only specific alerts that are related to Azure Active Directory, as we were seeing before, right? If I apply that, I will get just a new list with all the different detections that we have on these data sources, right? Once I click on one of them, it gives me a specific description, which logs are being used for that detection, and I can see even the KQL, the custom query language that is used in order to do the detection. Okay.
Wow.
Um, yeah, there's many things in here, so I'm not going to go into the details on how to enable analytic rules. There's a small wizard that you can use to basically enable that rule, where you can do advanced settings like allowing for grouping of alerts into a single incident, so you don't get flooded and things are grouped to your liking.
Would
There's
you
different
also
grouping.
be able to add here already a response action to then this alert
Yes.
that comes out? Okay, cool.
Yes,
Thank
part
you.
of the wizard. One of the steps as part of the wizard is to enable the automated response if you desire. Yeah, and you will tell which playbook, which automation I need to run when when an alert of this kind is registered, is triggered.
Okay, thank you.
One other thing that I wanted to mention is that we have multiple rule types. I mentioned before that we had rules that are built on with KQL, with custom query language. These are these two only, but as you can see, we have other rule types. These two are the ones that are built with KQL. These are the schedule. These can be as fast as every 5 minutes. But we also have the NRT, the near real time rules, which can run as fast as 1 minute. Um, Besides that, we have Fusion. This is our machine learning algorithm that allows you to merge or fuse alerts coming from different providers and then raise a higher severity incident that has been the result of correlation between different alerts coming from different sources like Azure Active Directory identity protection or Microsoft 365 Defender or Sentinel or anomalies within our UBA engine, etc.
Okay,
We
cool.
have also the Microsoft security alerts. I'm going to just briefly go to those. So as you can see, there's a bunch of them that give you alerts coming from different services like Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Cloud in this case, Identity, and so on and so forth. Microsoft
Mhm.
365 Defender, of course, Azure Active Directory Identity Protection. So you can also enable this separately to get alerted on those on alerts coming from those services.
Perfect. It's time to remind you about those cute ninja plush cats. So if you want to get one of those, check out the link. Let's have a look at a few other things. You mentioned the Content Hub. First of
Yes.
all, there is a couple of items that say preview. So it means it's in public preview. People can use it, can check it out, provide feedback. That's the way.
Absolutely, that's the way. So some of these things are getting in public preview. So yeah, that's where we are going to continue to develop in those features and eager to get feedback from customers on how they're using it so we can adapt. Some of them will shortly go to GA, like for example, Content Hub is slated to be also soon in GA. And yeah, as you said, right, Content Hub, quite an important and integral part of Sentinel, where all our content resides, right? So I can here filter by whatever I want. As you can see, I have multiple filters over here at the top. I can say, hey, show me all the different solutions. Solutions are packages here in Content Hub that contain a data connector. As you can see, we have a total of 225 solutions that have data connectors. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
total number that we will be able to see there, right? I can see also the ones that have analytic rules or parsers, right? So by content type in that case.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
can also say the type of support, if it's a Microsoft support provided by a partner, by the community, and so forth. Also, the provider. Who is the provider? Is it Microsoft? Is it someone else? I can also filter
Mm-hmm.
by that. As well as the category. We have solutions organized or tagged across different categories like security, UEBA, migration, or networking, and so on and so forth.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So, and then you would click on it and then you will get the connector, and
Exactly.
then the data will start to ingest. That's awesome.
Exactly. You just click on
So,
it and install it, and then you'll have the connector in the data connector gallery. So you can configure it and start ingesting that data.
and then it's the same. Usually it comes with analytics that you then enable.
Correct. As you can see in this one, for example, in this Cisco umbrella solution, this comes with the data connector, of course, but then also 10 analytic rules, 10 hunting queries, a parser to make more sense of the data, 4 playbooks to do automated response, and also a workbook to visualize the data coming from this data source.
Nice.
One thing that I briefly want to mention is the MITRE ATT&CK
Yes.
dashboard. So basically, this gives you a heat map on how well you're covered against the MITRE framework. You can see here this heat map. You can not only take into account your active rules, but also you can say, hey, how would my coverage look like if I enable all the analytic rule templates, right? And this will complete the picture to give you a more comprehensive heat map and also where your gaps are, right? So pretty cool feature that is going to be extended also to even more products. Yeah.
And is this all the analytics rule that are currently part of my environment because I have the connector, or all of them that would be somehow available through the 225 connectors?
Right. So the ones that are shown here are the ones that are available through my active rules, right?
Good.
The schedule,
Yeah.
NRT, and anomaly rules, right? If I select here templates, it will include all the templates that we saw some minutes ago in the analytics blade. Those will be included, right? And as you say, right, I might not have the data source for that, but this is just a simulation, right? That's the idea.
Mhm.
let's go 1 second to incidents before we go into automation, right? In incidents, we have basically a queue of incidents for the analysts to work on. As you can see, that these incidents can come from different data sources, right? They can come from Sentinel, but also from Microsoft 365 Defender and other different sources, right? Just to click on one of them, this one, for example, is a big incident that has 30 different alerts, 82 different entities that are affected, accounts, IP addresses, hosts, etc. And wanted to show you in the full details. Here we can see how an incident looks like in the Microsoft Sentinel world, right? So you can see a timeline of all the different events, the entities that are part of that incident, any other similar incidents that have to do or have relationship with this existing incident. For example, in this case, because similar entities were involved in that other incident. Okay. And also here we have top insights, right? So things that are interesting for me to look at, and in this case are coming from UEBA, right? From our user entity behavior analytics that detected some anomalies for some of the entities involved in this.
Wow. Okay.
And then here's where the automation part comes, right? I can, for example, say, hey, this IP address, I want to automate something about it. I can add it to my TI, to my threat intelligence, or I can run a playbook. I can maybe check if this IP address is something that is listed in abuse IPDB, right? Or if it's in virus total. The same with hash or an email, right? Those things I can also do from within.
I love this example. I know we didn't talk yet really about the Microsoft 365 Defender integration, but it's basically some people, if they have Microsoft 365 Defender, like, why do I need Sentinel? It's like, whatever other resources or like third party events you have that might be able to enrich an incident. And this is one where you say Sentinel enrich this incident through the UBA insights, right? So really,
Exactly.
really nice example here. Yeah.
Exactly, and I can add, for example, here I might be able to say, hey, I discovered something else that has to do with this incident, so I want to add an additional bookmark or an additional evidence to this timeline because I know I saw something in my firewall, and I saw something on my antivirus or my EDR that's notable, and I would like to add it, right? But in any case, I mean, as you said, right, this is, for example, an incident that is coming from Microsoft 365 Defender, and I can just click on it.
And that's the beauty here whilst it's loading. We have a bidirectional connector, which means if you change incident on whatever part, it will synchronize back. Like if you change the status of it, if you assign it to a user, if you add extra other alerts to it that you think are part of it, and these kind of things. Wow, that looks like what's that animal called that makes this big um,
Like the peacock.
yes, a peacock. Thank you.
So yeah, as you were saying, right? Indeed, we have bidirectional synchronization between Microsoft 365 Defender and Sentinel. That is enabled through the Microsoft 365 Defender connector in Sentinel, where you can select to have that synchronization. And then, for example, this one is assigned to this person, right? Derek Carroll. Right now, I can just say manage incident, and then don't assign to this person, but assign to myself, to Javier Soriano, right? I can save just that. If I go back to Sentinel and I refresh this specific incident, I see that it's still with Derek Carroll. If I refresh, I see that it's now with me, with Javier Soriano, right? So
Congratulations! Now you have
yeah,
an
yeah,
incident assigned.
yes, looking forward to it. So yeah, as you can see, you can synchronize basically in real time the information that is in one place or the other. So it's always up to date. An analyst can continue their investigation wherever they prefer, right? For some situations, they might want to pivot into Defender. And then for some other things, like we said, like enrichment from external sources and things like that, working with TI, etc. Sentinel provides some other capabilities to help the analyst. And now that we've seen a little bit about incidents, I wanted to indeed go to automation, right? This is where we have our SOAR component. The SOAR component has two capabilities, I would say. One is called automation rules. This is more for orchestration. So basically, to say when you want an automation rule to run. I'm going to just open quickly a new automation rule so you see what the kind of thing that you can do. You can say, hey, trigger this automation rule whenever an incident is created, and then there's going to be a set of conditions when this automation is going to run. In this case, I can say, hey, just run for when I see an alert coming from this GitHub behavior, and also I'm going to add another condition, which is going to be when the status is equals to new, and also when, let's see, when the incident provider equals to Sentinel, right? I can add more things, as you can see here. There's many different fields that I can add conditions for. Like, for example, the specific account name. It can be, for example, contains my name. And then I can select what actions I want to run when these conditions are met. I can say, run a playbook.
I would say if it contains Javier, change the severity.
Too high.
Yes.
You can do simple tasks like change the status, change the severity of the ticket, assign an owner, add tags, or add a task. So tasks are also an important feature that we recently added to incidents, which allows you to establish a list of tasks that the analyst needs to perform in order to complete the investigation and close the ticket, right? Okay. So these are the things that you can do from automation rules, and then it will be part of this list and be executed every time these conditions are met. So then, yeah, besides the automation rules, which is the first capability in automation, we also have playbooks, right? I'm going to just go straight into playbook templates. So you see a list of the built-in ones that we have. Again, there's more coming from Content Hub if you want to. And here you can filter by several things. You have tags where it tells you what is the purpose of that playbook. Like, is it remediation what it's doing? Is it response? Is it enrichment? Is it a utility? Is it a synchronization? Like, you can synchronize, for example, with Jira tickets or with ServiceNow, with Zendesk, and so on and so forth. But let's look at, for example, what can I do with Azure Active Directory or identity protection, right? This will show me the kind of actions that I can do that have to do with Azure Active Directory or identity protection. Like, for example, block an Azure Active Directory user. I can do that from within Sentinel without having to navigate out, without having to ask permissions for the global admin. I just have those permissions built in into the Logic app, right, into the playbook. Let's look at one of those, right? For example, this one, block AAD user. So if and it's in use, so we should have it here in our active playbooks. If I go here into search for block, it's probably one of these. Yeah, this one, right? So if we click on that, we can see the type of workflow that is configured as part of this playbook. If I go to the Logic App Designer, this is where you would design your own workflow, where you create it. It's mostly codeless, so you don't have to type any code. You just have to manage the different connectors and boxes. As you can see, it's getting just the alert from Sentinel. It's getting the incident, the accounts from that. And then what it does, it uses the Azure Active Directory connector to be able to perform that blocking, the disablement of that account. And then depending on the answer, it will add a comment to the incident saying, hey, yeah, I was able to disable the user in Azure Active Directory via a playbook. Or if that didn't happen successfully, you just post in the incident the error message. And this will appear in the comments of the Sentinel incident, so the analyst can verify if it was successfully blocked or not.
Wow, that looks like Power Automate.
It does very much so, yes. Let me show you just briefly the Microsoft 365 Defender connector. Not only it can do that bidirectional synchronization, but it can do more things, right? Again, this is a demo environment, so I'm not going to be able to do it, and that's not the intention. But as you can see, not only you can synchronize incidents and alerts, which is what we were speaking about, connect incidents and alerts, as you can see right here, but also you can bring your advanced hunting data from Defender into Sentinel.
Wow.
And you can do it by service, right? Defender for endpoint, you can say, hey, bring me all the different tables that I have for Defender, or just a bunch of them. I can deselect or unselect the ones that I don't want. And the same we have for Office, where I can check those tables and bring them. Defender for Cloud Apps, Defender for Identity, alert information, and also we come soon MDVM information.
Awesome. And then we saw already that the incidents were coming in. We saw them in the overview of your incident queue. And we looked at changing the owner. So it's, again, bidirectional, synchronized. Yeah. So now, first of all, Thank you. And maybe we can have another show. I'm actually looking to you, Javier, because usually you are the host of a show and not an expert, but not the expert of the show. Tell us a little bit, because I think we should ask people to join your event if they want to learn more about Sentinel and not duplicate the content. So that was basically an overview, an introduction, and now I want to point people to your way. Help us. What is it? What are you doing?
Yeah, we have a show called Microsoft Sentinel in the Field. It's in the Microsoft Security channel in YouTube. We've been running the show for more than a year now, and we invite the owners of Microsoft Sentinel, and we speak about different features within the product, so you can explore and get the most out of the platform.
Thank you so much. So, and with that, Javier, I think I'm curious. I'm going now to check out Sentinel a little more in our demo environment to click on a few things that I'm still curious about. Thank you so much for being my expert on today's show. I wish you all the best for your show. And thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to check out Javier's show, and he works with a lot of other experts on the show. And to come back to the Virtual Ninja Show when we have the next episode coming up shortly. Thanks everyone. Bye. Before you go, don't forget about those plush ninja cats. Check out the link, and I wish everyone good luck.